The number one key to victory for the Aggies to take down the Gators, the corners got to stop these Florida receivers.
You are Locked On Aggies, your daily podcast on the Texas A&M Aggies, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome on into Locked On Aggies. I'm your host, Andrew Stefaniak. Thanks for making Locked On Aggies your first listen every single day. Today's episode is brought to you by Ultimate College Football HC. Ultimate College Football HC is a brand new mobile game that is completely free, has no ads, and 100% playable offline. Begin your coaching legacy today. Ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to run through some keys to victory for the Aggies to take down the Gators on Saturday. And the number one for me is the Texas A&M corners slowing the Florida passing attack. I think that in the week one game for the Gators, it was a little weird because, Mertz gets the concussion, you're kind of getting stomped. But in that game, the Gators only had 122 passing yards, 91 for Mertz, 31 for Lagway. But then last week against Samford, we saw Lagway with 456 passing yards. You had 466 total on the team. And once again, that's against Samford. But I think that this passing attack for the Gators is going to be able to move the football. Once again, I feel better about Texas A&M's corners, and I feel, especially compared to what we saw last season, I feel better there, but I do still think that when it comes to if a team wanted to try and find a way to be successful against Texas A&M, I think their best course of action would be to throw the football. I just think it's going to be really hard to move the ball on the ground against the Aggies. Now, I know that Notre Dame actually had more success when it came to large plays on the ground than they did through the air, but I think that was a one-off. I think I think the Aggies struggled to wrap up, and I don't see that being a season-long problem. So I think that the corners need to play well. I think Florida's going to look at tape and they're going to go, okay, our best chance to beat this team is through the air, which is a good thing to know that I don't think there necessarily is a great, there's not a great plan of attack for the Gators against this Texas A&M defense. That's the reality here. But I think if there was one, once again, it would be trying to attack through the air. We're getting ready to meet with Brandon Olson of Locked On Gators today. Him and I are recording a crossover here in a few hours. And I cannot wait to hear his thoughts on the quarterback situation because it's going to be really interesting. And then once we hear his thoughts on that, we'll discuss that more on Friday probably because we're going to post the crossover tomorrow on Thursday. So, it'll be really interesting to hear his thoughts on this and how that's going to work. But I mean, regardless of which quarterback's in, I think they're going to try and attack the Aggies downfield. So it's going to be interesting to see how the corners, how the secondary plays against these receivers. The next thing I have here, the next key to victory I have is attacking with balance. I know Coach Klein wants to run the football, and I think he's going to be able to do that. But I think that running the football opens up passing, opens up the play action passing game, opens up the ability to push the ball downfield through the air. So balance in this game is going to be a key to victory. We need to see your running backs move the ball. I'd love to see another good yards per carry on the ground. I think what was it last week? I forget. In last week's game against McNeese, the Aggies were able to run for something absurd. Let's see. Yeah, 8.8 yards per carry. You're not going to do that again against an SEC team, but you'd love to see it be around 5, 4.8, 5.3, somewhere around there. That'd be great. You would love to see it be in that range. So that is the way I think you need to attack. Balance. I'm always a huge offensive balance guy. Yes, Coach Klein wants to run the ball. That's what he wants to do. But I think that opens up your opportunities for big plays. That's what's going to give you a chance to push the ball downfield. That's what's going to give you the opportunity to use your weapons down the field. So establish the run game. Let that open things up in the passing game. That's my next key to victory. The one after that is protecting Connor. The Aggies are on the road. You're going into the swamp. What are the vibes going to be like in the swamp? I don't know. We're going to see. That's one thing we're going to talk to Brandon Olson, our Locked On Gators host, about today. I'll ask him that question. What are the vibes in the swamp? How are we feeling? So we'll ask him that today. But I think that protecting Connor Wigman was going to be massive in this game. You want him to get comfortable early. When he's comfortable, he's better. And that is going to give him, if you protect him and he has time in the pocket, he's going to play well. He's got to have time in the pocket to find what he wants, find downfield, and get the football to somebody downfield. That's what Connor Wigman wants to do. Protecting him gives him the opportunity to do just that. So the offensive line, we talked about, you got to have a good game from Zune. We talked about this yesterday, but this offensive line as a whole needs to play well. You can't just have, one guy play well. I mean, even though, protecting his blind side is important. This is going to be what makes or breaks this game. If Connor Wigman is running for his life the whole game, it's just going to be hard for this offense to get going. And this is a game where we have to see this offense get going. We're going to talk about that in segment 3 of hey, if this offense gets going, where are we at mentally? So we'll talk about that in a little while. But protecting Connor Wigman is going to be massive in this football game. And the next thing I have here, key to victory wise, staying on the trend of Connor Wigman, is getting him comfy, getting him comfortable in the game early. It was interesting because it seemed, if you remembered in the Notre Dame game, he looked comfortable early. And it just kind of never stuck. I still think it's important to get your quarterback comfortable early. You have to let him settle in. You have to let him get the football out. Shorter passes, whatever it is. Let him get the football. Let him try and get some of those a couple slants or a couple screens, so where he's getting the ball out of his hands quickly and he's getting comfortable in the pocket. Being comfortable in the pocket makes quarterbacks better. And I think that if you find opportunities to do that for Connor Wigman early in the game, it's just going to make him better throughout the course of the football game. So Coach Klein, once again, I actually do think he did a good job of that in the Notre Dame game. It just didn't stick. And I think that if you let him settle in against Florida on the road, settling in on the road is going to be very important. Texas A&M has not had much success away from home of late. You got to be able to go on the road and play well. So we need to see Connor Wigman settle into the game early and play well. If he doesn't play well, I mean, I don't even know what to say at this point. If he doesn't play well, you're in trouble. So Connor Wigman needs to have a good game, and I think that a way to make that happen is to get him comfortable in the pocket early in the game. The last key to victory I have here is no missed tackles. Against Notre Dame, that was a problem. The Aggies missed a lot of tackles. I mean, it was on the upwards of 18. You cannot miss tackles. This defense is too good at getting to the spot. But there's 2 steps to this. You got to get to the spot and then make the tackle. So Texas A&M's defense needs to do a better job. You're doing a great job getting there. Now that you've got there, you've got to wrap up, solid form, and bring down the ball carrier. That's the key. If, you're letting Florida Gator players break tackles all game long and turn 6-yard runs into 18-yard runs and 20-yard runs into 50-yard runs, that's where you're going to lose this football game. So a huge key in this game is going to be making sure this defense is wrapping up and not missing any tackles. And if they do that, I do believe that they're going to cause real problems for the offense of the Florida Gators. So we need to see that happen from the defense. Don't give them any cheap ones. Don't give them any ones where you should have wrapped them up for a 2-yard loss and it turns into a 7-yard gain. Can't have it happen. That is a huge key to victory in this game for the Aggies. We're going to talk about some Florida Gator players Aggie fans need to know ahead of this matchup. We'll do that coming up right here on Locked On Aggies. But first, I want to tell you about our friends over at Ultimate College Football HC. Hey, Locked On Aggies fans, I want to take a moment to give you a heads up on a brand new mobile game that I think you are going to love as much as I do. Ultimate College Football HC. In this amazing game and simulation, you get to step into the shoes of a head coach and learn your college and lead your college football program to glory. Can you imagine actually being the head coach of the Aggies? From recruiting players and hiring a coaching staff to overseeing training camp and handling school scholarships, you control every crucial detail of your program. It's all in your hands. Will you be able to handle the pressure? And here's what I really love about the game. You are responsible for calling offensive plays during the games. Your strategy will not only determine the success of your football season, but will shape the future and legacy of your program. Ultimate College Football HC is completely free, has no ads, and is 100% playable offline. You can play on the go as you want and when you want to. And of course, when you have we have a special offer for Locked On Aggies fans. Use the promo code LOCKEDONCFB, all caps, inside the game store to receive a free boost to your program. Make sure to take advantage of this perk as it will get your team off to a strong start. To know the game, just visit ultimate-cfb.com, ultimate-cfb.com, or look it up in the App Store. Ultimate College Football HC, begin your coaching legacy today. Also want to tell you about our friends over at Game Time. And once again, ladies and gentlemen, y'all that are everydayers here at Locked On Aggies know that I love the Game Time app. Every time I'm going to anything where you need a ticket, sporting event, concert, whatever it is, I'm buying my ticket on Game Time. I'm going to a concert on Thursday of next week. Got my tickets on Game Time. It is the best place and should be the only place that anyone ever purchases tickets to anything. It's what I'm going to use the rest of my life. It's what all my family uses. It's what all my friends use. I've got everybody on the Game Time hype train, and y'all need to be on it as well. It's easy to use. I love how in the app you can see where your seats are before you buy your tickets. So you go, okay, do I want to sit here? Do I want to maybe go here? Should I have a little price upgrade and sit closer? Are all these seats fine to where I can save some money and move back? You make your decision, and I love that feature in the app. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. So we've got some players here that Texas A&M fans need to be ready for. And the first player I have here is Tyreak Sapp, a guy, when watching film on this Florida team, he stands out. He's currently the sack leader for this team. He's got 2 sacks on the year. The Gators only have 5 sacks as a team, and he has 2 of them. Everybody else just has 1. And he is third on the team, tied for third on the team in tackles. Watching the film on him, he looks really explosive. He looks like a guy that is going to be tough. He's an edge rusher. He looks like a guy that might be a little tough for the Aggie offensive lineman to maintain. So 6'3", 272. There's a few different type of edge rusher builds. There's your 6'5", 240, really quick, athletic, and long, that kind of build. Then there's the Tyreak Sapp type build, the 6'3", 272. He's tall, he's strong, he's big. That's the type of build he possesses, and it's a tough one to guard. So Tyreak Sapp is a player that this offensive line needs to be ready for because he's going to make a run at Connor Rigman and try and sack him all game long. The next player is Florida running back Montrell. Is it Johnson? I already forget his name. Yeah, Montrell Johnson Jr. And, he has already had a solid season. Currently, he's got 26 carries, 173 yards. Not crazy involved in the passing game. Two games into the season, 3 catches for 10 yards. But right now, he's averaging 6.7 yards per tote. He's got 3 touchdowns. He had a 71-yard run against Miami. So he's a really solid running back in this conference. Montrell Johnson Jr. is a really good running back in this conference, and the Aggies got to be ready for him. We talked about how I'm more concerned about the corners holding up in this football game than I am the front seven stopping the run. That's all true, but still, this front seven is ready for a really solid running back in Montrell Johnson Jr. He's going to look to have a big game in this football game. The next two players I want for everyone to be ready for is DJ Lagway and Graham Mertz. We're going to talk more about the dynamic of who's going to play, who is going to play more snaps. What does this mean? Who's going to be the guy? We're going to, I've read reports, I've read articles. I want to hear it straight from somebody who I really trust that covers the Gators, and that would be, once again, Brandon Olson, who we're going to talk to actually here in a few hours. So we'll find more about this. I find this weird. I've told y'all my opinion on that. If I'm Billy Napier, I am rolling with Lagway because I feel like he's the best chance of saving your job. But it'll be interesting to see what they roll out there with. What is their plan? What are they going to do against the Aggies? I'm really anxious to see what this looks like because, I don't like. I saw someone comment yesterday. Well, Mertz is kind of similar, or I think it was Lagway similar. You got to just prepare. It's like you're preparing for Connor Rigman. That's true, but what I'm saying is you have to prepare for 2 quarterbacks, and that's not an easy thing to do. Mertz, both of these guys are, I would say, they lean pocket passer, but they can also both get outside the pocket and roll and move if they need to. They're similar quarterbacks, but you're still preparing for 2 different quarterbacks. And that just adds an extra element to a game you just don't want to have if you're a coach. So the next name I have here is Eugene Wilson, who is currently the leading receiver for the Gators. 13 catches on the season for 191 yards and 1 touchdown. He has an 85-yard reception on the year. He's a really good receiver. We knew he was going to be good heading into the season. He's one of the guys that this secondary needs to be ready for. Secondary needs to be ready for him. And then the other name is another receiver, and that is Elijah Badger. Same thing here. 6 catches, 166 yards, hasn't gotten in the end zone yet. But watching film on these receivers in this team, those guys are standing out. They look good. This Texas A&M secondary has got to be ready for these players because I like this receiving room a lot. And I think that whether it's Mertz or Lagway, both of these quarterbacks are more than capable of getting the football to those guys. So the takeaway there to me is very simple. The secondary needs to be ready for these guys because they're really good, and I think the Gators are going to want to try and push the ball downfield because it's not going to be easy to run the ball against the front seven of Texas A&M. So you're going to see Wilson and Badger be a huge part of the game plan for the Gators in this football game. They're going to get involved early and often. The secondary has got to be ready to slow these guys. We're going to talk about what a solid offensive day would mean for this Texas A&M football team and this football season. We'll have that conversation coming up right here on Locked On Aggies. But first, we got to talk about FanDuel. You've heard us talk a lot about FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Well, we have something a little different for you. Now through September 22nd, not much time left, only a few days left, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Then, with the YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out of market game. All you need is a Google account and a current form of payment, and you can cancel any time. Just visit fanduel.com, download America's #1 sportsbook today. So, against Notre Dame, it's obviously no secret the issue was the offense. We all know that. Connor Rigman played the worst game of his college football career. The offense did not get much going. It was not great. I think this left all of us kind of in this, okay, what's going on here? Is this offense just flat out not good? What are we doing? We got to figure this out, right? That's kind of where it left us. Well, I think on the flip side of that, now against Florida, who I do not think is by any means a great SEC team, but an okay team. They've got talent. I mean, we've all seen those talent rankings, the blue chip stuff. This is a talented football team. So if you go to the Swamp and you win this game and your offense plays really well, this should give Texas A&M fans more confidence moving forward in this football team. A&M has the weapons to be good offensively. They do. They have the weapons to be solid offensively. It did not work out against Notre Dame. This offense looked, the only word you can really use is terrible. I mean, the offense was terrible. For this team to overachieve, for this, which is still on the table, once again, I try to keep reiterating that, overachieving is not off the table. We all wanted Texas A&M to beat Notre Dame. We all wanted that. And it just didn't shape out. Didn't shake out. That's the reality here. Sad. It's what happened. This football team still can overachieve. But for that to happen, this offense has to be better. I'll tell you this right now with confidence. If the offense plays the way it did against Notre Dame, against Florida, and against LSU and Missouri and Texas and Auburn, they're not going to win a lot of football games. Very simple. Not a crazy take there. If this offense is able to turn things around and have a good outing against the Gators and have a good season down the road, offensively, they can win some games they're not supposed to because the defense is there. The issue is the offense. If the offense can turn it around and play well, this football team is more than capable of taking care of business in games they probably should win and taking care of business maybe in one game at home at Kyle Field that they shouldn't. So if I'm a Texas A&M fan right now, the only thing I want to see against the Florida Gators is this offense play much, much, much better than it did against Notre Dame. And I think if that happens, I'm not 100% confident, but I go from 20% confident to 75% confident. And then all it takes is another good performance against a team like a Missouri or an LSU offensively for me to go, okay, here we go. This offense is going to be good. This offense is going to be okay. And I think that's all it really would take confidence-wise for people to buy back in to the Texas A&M offensive hype train. And if that happens, this team, I still believe, will overachieve during the 2024 football season. That's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Aggies. Thank y'all so much for being here every single day. I really, really appreciate it. Like I said, here in a few hours, I'm going to be recording a crossover episode with Locked On Gators host Brandon Olson. He's a character, going to be a ton of fun. He's going to let us know. He's going to let us know his opinion. And I bet he's going to like the Gators in this game, but it's going to be great to hear his opinion. We're going to talk about the quarterback situation. The plan in my head, him and I have not discussed this, is to post that episode on Thursday. That'll either be Thursday's episode or Friday's, one or the other. I assume Thursdays, so be ready for that. It's going to be a great episode breaking down this huge game for both these football teams. So I cannot wait to record that with him here in a few hours, and I cannot wait for you all to see it either tomorrow or Friday morning. So be ready for that. Like I said, hope everyone has a great rest of the day today, and we will see you tomorrow right here on Locked On Aggies.